Welcome back. We hope that you have taken some great photos in our photo center, as well as checked out our great partners in our engagement center. To bring attention real quick before we get started, if you turn to page 11 or reference page 11, please be sure to check out that we do have our hashtag CC Summit 2017, and also following us on Twitter and Instagram. Obviously, the more awareness and visibility you provide and the work that we're doing here at the Summit and your experience as well. And just a reminder of our networking breaks and meals in there as well. So those are some main points for us on page 11, just to remind us as we continue through this experience. We are going to dive into our first set of Power Talks, and to get us started, our lovely Board of Directors member, Mr. Kirk Mogg, will be taking us and facilitating us through that process. We are so pleased to have Kirk not only a part of our team, but a part of our family, an individual from Oregon originally, actually still, but he's traveled around a bit, and serves as an attorney at Stoll Reeves, and this past year, just making partner. Kirk has been an advocate and a supporter of this summit from the very first time that we said that we thought we should do something. And he has stepped up in more ways than one. He was one of the original sponsors of the original summit, continues to be a summit sponsor, and is a Founder Circle sponsor of the summit as well. It's my pleasure to introduce to you our MC for most of the rest of the day, Mr. Kirk Mogg.
I think that's the first time anyone has ever introduced me as being lovely. Thank you, Marcus. So when I think about the Cultivating Change Summit, and this is my third Cultivating Change Summit, the one word that comes to mind is celebration. Every time I leave, I feel like I've been part of a celebration, and there are two things that we're here to celebrate. I mean, many things, but the two things that primarily come to mind for me, it's a celebration of people. The faces that you see around the conference, every one of you in the room, it's a celebration of people, and it's also a celebration of their stories. And one of the things that, as I reflect back on each summit, one of the things that stand out most to me is the unique and powerful story that each person brings and that we're able to celebrate here. This morning, I'm able to introduce 4 people who are going to share a little bit more about their stories with you. Their detailed bios are in the program, and because we're limiting their talks to 10 minutes, I'm not going to do a 10-minute introduction of each of them. So I'll keep it short, but if you want to know more about them, find it in the program. But our first speaker this morning comes to us from the East Coast, from a small town outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. Jennifer Lilly is the U.S. Regulatory Manager for Bayer Crop Science. And she is taking time away from her wife, Nicole, and daughter, Zoe, to be with us. Please help me welcome Jennifer Lilly.
So I have slides because I'm in regulatory, so you will take my PowerPoint from my cold, dead hands. So I'm Jennifer Lilly. I've been in regulatory for 6 years, and before that I was an entomologist. So I've been in agriculture for about 15 years. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is about agriculture education. So I was really excited when I was looking at the initial agenda. God, I'm nervous, you guys. I'm sorry. It's the first time I've done one of these. So just bear with me. Thanks, you guys. So when I was looking at the agenda, I saw really the topic was around ag education. So because I'm passionate about this, I realized that what I actually would want to talk about is not so much agriculture education as it is education of people within the agriculture field on LGBT issues. And one of the reasons why this is important to me is because at Bayer, I'm leading one of the employee resource groups within agriculture for LGBT employees and allies. This was originally an employee resource group that started in Berkeley. So it started in pharmaceuticals. It moved on to the corporate Bayer, but it's just now being adapted to agriculture. And it's kind of a challenge with agriculture, as I'm sure you guys know. One of the main reasons, oh God, you guys, I'm nervous. I think saying out loud makes me feel better, so let me just get that out of my system. So agriculture happens in rural communities, and we know rural communities often don't have a lot of LGBT resources. So what that means is rural youth who have a passion for farming or agriculture don't feel like they can pursue that passion and also feel accepted for who they are if they happen to be LGBT and within their community. And I know this firsthand. I have a close friend who watched his grandmother's farm get broken up and sold off because he didn't feel, as a gay man, that he was safe staying in his hometown and running that farm. So he moved to the big city, to Raleigh, and he has a garden in his backyard, but it's not the same, and it's something that has stayed with him for his whole life. And I myself grew up in a rural community. I grew up in the foothills of North Carolina, Statesville, North Carolina. It's not a super small town. It has like 20,000 people, I think. But it was a town where calling a girl a lesbian was the worst insult you could throw at her. And I got that insult a lot growing up, despite the fact that I didn't even come out until I was almost 30. So growing up in that town, because of the town and the culture, and also because of my home life, I put a barrier in my head between myself and any concept that I might be gay. And I did a really good job of lying to myself for a really long time. And I got married straight out of college to a man. At 22, I had my daughter. And I made this relationship work really well for a time, until eventually I had a bit of a life crisis, which sent me to therapy. And then therapy led me through a really nasty divorce, which was probably the lowest point of my life, but it gave me this opportunity to address that barrier that I had put up in my head, and to realize what a good liar I was, and to realize how good I had gotten at denying myself happiness. And I think a lot of people can probably relate to that. So coming out at almost 30 ended up actually being a lot easier than I thought it would. My friends and family were super supportive because they weren't surprised, which was a surprise to me because I thought I had been a really good liar. I came out to my ex-husband, and he turned into one of my strongest supporters. I came out to my daughter, who didn't give a crap, because kids her age don't give a crap, and I realized that after the fact. And then eventually, it led me to meeting my wife, the love of my life, Nicole. We've only been married for about a year. We've been together for 4. But it's exciting to realize how happy I deserve to be. And I didn't realize it until I was able to come out. And why I'm telling you this story is because I had this really unique opportunity to walk through the world as both a straight woman and a gay woman. And that gave me an opportunity to look back on my time as a straight ally and realize how I could have been better, what I could have been doing a little differently, or what I didn't know when I was a straight ally, that if I had known, I would have done a better job of supporting the LGBT community. So that kind of takes me to the meat of what I wanted to talk about is, from my perspective, what is it that LGBT allies need to know? What is it that we as LGBT people in the field of agriculture, in rural America, need to be telling allies so that they can be better, and also so that we can create new allies? So I kind of have a little twofold talk here. So the first is what do LGBT allies need to know, and the next is how we can think about creating new ones. So the first point is that everybody is an ally. And what I mean by this is within the LGBT community, we're allies to each other. We're supporting each other because the issues of equal rights and fair treatment are not specific to one community, and we're also all still learning. And that's something that straight allies, I think, don't understand, is that we don't have all the answers either. I mean, obviously, I haven't been here that long, so I'm still figuring stuff out. But we want our straight allies to know that we're all in the same boat. We're all supporting each other. We're all learning. Which leads me to the next point, that obviously, no one person is the voice for their community. And nor should anyone be expected to be that voice for their community. And as a straight ally in the past, I was super guilty of this. I was super guilty of asking my one gay friend about a really big issue and then taking his word as the end-all, say-all, be-all of that issue and not doing anything else to find out more. What we want allies to know is that it's great to listen to your friends and family that are LGBT, but you also have the responsibility to do research on your own and to learn more about these broader issues. And again, we're also still learning, so we're not gonna have all the answers. And in that light, you're gonna say the wrong thing. I'm gonna say the wrong thing. We have to own it, and we have to apologize for it if that happens. I have straight friends who would rather say nothing than say the wrong thing. And that's almost as bad as not being an ally at all. If you say nothing instead of saying the wrong thing and apologizing for it. So what I would like to see is that we create a space for allies to be fallible and to be human, just like we are. We need straight allies to understand that we're okay with them saying the wrong thing as long as they handle it right and apologize. We need straight allies to know that we support them in being wrong sometimes, because we're gonna be wrong too. And most importantly, we need straight allies, but we need them to know that we need them. When I was a straight ally, I don't think I realized how important my support was to my LGBT friends. I mean, I thought, oh, I'm being a good friend, I'm supporting them. But I didn't realize that allies are integral to changing the culture. Especially in agriculture and in rural America, allies are gonna be the forefront of changing the culture. So because we need allies to change the culture, we also need new ones. And someone who is already an ally can be a huge supporter in bringing in new allies. So I have a bit of a call to action. In rural America, there's already been work being done to help LGBT people. And that's been done by small organizations, by the USDA, by individuals. But where I haven't seen it is in corporate America. In corporate America within agriculture. And this is just a few of the larger companies in ag. And obviously I know that some of these will be changing soon, but they don't pay me enough to talk about that. So we're just gonna leave it how it is for now. But what we wanna see is corporate companies coming in and speaking out and making a difference, because companies like Bayer have this unique opportunity to pave the way in changing the culture of rural America. And they can do this through a number of different ways. And first and foremost is starting to think about how to create and support allies. So first, creating and supporting internal allies. You can start with ally training. And that can include some of the information that I had before. But you want people to feel like they can be the best ally they can be, and you want to create a space where they can learn how to be better within your company. And then if you want to bring in more people, you can start reminding people that they probably already work with or know an LGBT person somewhere in their life. So I think, depending on who you ask, we make like 4 to 7% of the population, which in Bayer terms is probably thousands of people. We don't know for sure because we haven't figured out how to create self-identification for LGBT employees. But we can guess that there's probably thousands of people, which means there are thousands of LGBT people working alongside multitudes of straight people every day and giving our company everything that they've got and putting forth their full effort to make Bayer the best place to work possible. And when you remind a straight colleague that in their work purview, there's a really good possibility that there is an LGBT person somewhere in there, it normalizes it a little bit, and it makes it easier for them to recognize that ally training might be important. And then also creating and advertising that you have inclusive policies. I guarantee you that all these companies have inclusive HR policies. Bayer has wonderful inclusive HR policies, but does anybody know that? No. Outside of Out and Equal and the Human Rights Campaign, we don't tell anybody that we support gender transition. We don't tell anybody that we had partner benefits before marriage was legal for LGBT people. So if we advertise to the general public that we have these policies, it can help people understand that our companies support LGBT people. And then in light of that as well, we can start thinking about how we can have more diverse people in our advertising too. So for Bayer, healthcare and animal science have already started to do this a little bit, but it hasn't happened in agriculture. And I can understand how it might be a little difficult to figure out how to include more diversity in our advertising for agriculture, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means it might be difficult. So also, I think the most important piece is that companies in agriculture speak out as a corporation against injustice in their community. I have an example of House Bill 2 in North Carolina, which affected the LGBT community, but mostly hurt the transgender community in North Carolina. And Bayer as a corporation spoke out against this. We had our US communications person go on CNN and denounce the bill. But what we didn't see was our crop science leadership speak out against this. And crop science is based in North Carolina. Crop science is based in these agricultural rural communities, and they didn't say anything. And as a gay employee, that hurt. That sucked. And it wouldn't have been that hard. I mean, Dow and DuPont did it. Dow and DuPont were part of a lawsuit against the bill, but Bayer didn't. And so, moving forward, that's really where it needs to happen. It needs to happen in agriculture. It needs to happen in rural communities, not just Bayer corporate, which is already, in up north, well, for one thing, so it's a different culture, but in the places where these things are happening. So Bayer and companies like Bayer have this really unique opportunity to change this culture. We could create a culture where all people, regardless of their gender expression or sexual orientation, if they have a passion for agriculture, they can pursue it. They can contribute to it. And if all of our companies are doing it, not just one, but every company is doing it, we're normalizing it. And we're making it easier for those rural youths to stay and run their grandmother's farm and not feel like they have to leave to the big city in order to be who they are. I really appreciate you guys having me here, and I'm really excited to be here for Cultivating Change because I want to see how we can work together and how we can make a difference. So thank you so much.
So, Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing your story with us and for providing us a call to action to create and build support from our allied friends. A small token of our thanks, and thank you so much for joining us.